What does life look like at over 14,000 feet above sea level? How do people survive here?
Nam jal tunduk jachin la ta ngai Changthang do state ta lo lo chu ngai ji chachin la ngai na.
Where winters fall below minus 30 degrees Celsius, survival becomes a way of life.
In winter, roads are cut off, supplies stop arriving, and temperatures plunge as low as minus 50 degrees Celsius, turning life into a daily struggle.
Today, we're visiting Merak, one of Ladakh's most remote villages. Imagine driving through the endless landscapes of eastern Ladakh. For hours, all you see are dry mountains stretching towards the horizon. There are no forests, no dense settlements, only barren land, rocky slopes, and the profound silence of the cold desert. At an altitude of nearly 13,000 feet, this landscape seems almost impossible for life. Yet, hidden among these mountains lies something completely unexpected. A vast body of brilliant blue water, surrounded by one of the harshest environments on Earth, Pangong Lake, one of the world's highest saltwater lakes. Stretching for more than 130 kilometers, this immense lake extends across eastern Ladakh and western Tibet. Standing beside it, it hardly feels like a lake. It feels like an ocean cradled between towering mountains. Scattered along its shoreline are a handful of small villages that have survived in this remote landscape for generations, adapting to the rhythm of both the mountains and the lake. Today, our journey takes us to one of those villages, Merak, a small settlement on the southern shore of Pangong Lake. Here, the lake is far more than a breathtaking landscape. It shapes everyday life. It determines when fields can be cultivated. It influences how families care for their livestock. And every year, it reminds the people to prepare for one of the harshest winters in the Himalayas. Behind the famous blue waters of Pangong lies another story. A story of a community that has learned to live, adapt, and endure in one of the most isolated corners of the world. As you leave the barren shoreline behind and enter Merak, the landscape begins to change almost instantly. The dry mountains remain, their snow-covered peaks towering high above the valley. But at their base, a ribbon of green slowly comes into view. Crystal-clear streams rush down from melting glaciers high in the mountains, weaving through the village before flowing into a network of carefully built irrigation channels. In a region that receives only a few inches of rainfall each year, every drop of this water is precious. It transforms an otherwise barren landscape into fertile fields where barley, peas, and small vegetable gardens flourish during the short Himalayan summer. Willow and poplar trees line the waterways, their green leaves standing in striking contrast to the brown mountains and the deep blue waters of Pangong Lake. It is a landscape of remarkable contrasts. One of the world's highest saltwater lakes lies only a few meters away, yet it cannot provide a single drop of drinking water to the people who live beside it. Instead, the survival of Merak depends entirely on these seasonal streams flowing down from the surrounding mountains. Without them, there would be no fields, no livestock, no village, and no families. Today, Merak is home to only a few dozen families, many of whom have lived here for generations.
पीक विंटर में अगर मौसम हमारे कई बार ख़राब रहता है, लगभग एक हफ्ता या 2 हफ्ता, तो -30, 35, कभी-कभी -40 भी पहुंच जाता है.
Life here follows a rhythm set not by calendars, but by the seasons. Summer is short, lasting only a few months. It is also the busiest and perhaps the happiest time of the year. From morning until evening, families cultivate their fields, repair their homes, cut grass for fodder, and gather enough supplies to survive the long winter ahead. Because once the temperature begins to fall, everything changes. The fields freeze, the irrigation channels fall silent, roads become increasingly difficult to cross, and fresh supplies arrive less frequently. For months, the village depends almost entirely on what it has grown, stored, and prepared during the brief summer. In Merak, survival is never left to chance. It begins long before the first snowfall. Walking through Merak, one thing immediately stands out. Most of the houses here are not built with concrete or bricks. Instead, they are constructed from mud, stone, and wood, materials gathered from the surrounding landscape. At first glance, these homes appear simple, but every thick wall, every small window, and every room reflects generations of experience living in one of the harshest environments in the Himalayas. These materials were never chosen for appearance. They were chosen because they work. The thick mud walls protect families from the freezing temperatures outside. During the short summer, they keep the interiors cool, and when winter arrives, they help retain the warmth produced inside the house. Step indoors, and the atmosphere changes completely. The cold wind disappears. The comforting aroma of freshly prepared food fills the room. At the center of the house is the kitchen. For many families in Merak, it is far more than a place to cook. During winter, it becomes the heart of the home. A traditional bukhari burns quietly throughout the day, filling the room with warmth during the long Himalayan winter. Family members gather around it to cook, eat, share stories, and spend time together while the temperature outside continues to fall. For many households, this single room becomes the warmest place in the house, where everyday life continues even as the world beyond the walls disappears beneath snow and ice. This house is completely made of mud and is around 65 years old. During winter, we spend most of our day inside this kitchen. Food collected during the summer and autumn is carefully stored inside the house, ready for the months when fresh supplies become difficult to reach the village. In a place where winter can last for months, preparation is not a choice. It is simply part of everyday life. These houses are more than shelters. They are living examples of how generations have adapted to life beside Pangong Lake, using local knowledge to remain warm, protected, and self-sufficient through one Himalayan winter after another. Outside the warmth of these homes, winter reveals one of Merak's greatest challenges. A simple water tap stands beside the house. During summer, it provides water throughout the day. But once winter arrives, the water inside the pipes freezes completely. The same happens across the village. Water tanks freeze, pipelines stop working. Even using a bathroom becomes difficult. For weeks, and sometimes months, running water can no longer be taken for granted. Everyday tasks begin with heating water. Whether for cooking, washing, or cleaning, every bucket must first be warmed over a fire. Walking through Merak, another feature stands out outside many homes: solar water heaters. These systems harness the powerful Himalayan sunlight to heat water during the day, reducing the need for firewood whenever the weather allows. Cold water enters from one side. As it passes through the solar collector, it is heated before returning to the house. But their efficiency depends entirely on sunshine. During prolonged cold spells and cloudy winter days, families once again rely on traditional methods to heat the water they need. As the morning sun slowly reaches the valley, Merak begins another ordinary day. Children make their way through the village, while beyond the last houses, narrow trails climb steadily towards the surrounding mountains. This is where we meet Namgyal Uncle. For him, these mountain paths are simply part of everyday life. Almost every morning, he follows the same route, prayer beads moving quietly through his fingers as he softly recites Buddhist prayers. Along the way, he pauses beside a narrow water channel. A small piece of plastic has become trapped between the stones. Without hesitation, he bends down, removes it, and continues on his way. It is a quiet gesture, yet it speaks volumes about the connection people here share with the land that sustains them. As we climb higher, the village slowly disappears behind us. The grazing grounds begin to unfold, while Pangong Lake stretches across the valley below. His cows are already feeding on the mountain pasture. Nearby, a few yaks move calmly across the slopes, perfectly adapted to this high-altitude landscape. For many families in Merak, livestock remain an essential part of everyday life, providing both livelihood and security in an environment where resources are limited. Namgyal Uncle. From November until April, we keep the cows inside the shelter. During summer, we collect fodder and store it, because once the snowfall begins, this is what they eat. Back in the village, signs of this way of life can be seen almost everywhere. Bundles of dried pea plants are stacked beside homes, ready to feed livestock when grazing becomes impossible. On several rooftops, cow dung dries beneath the mountain sun, before being used as fuel during the colder months. In Merak, even the simplest resources have a purpose. Very little is wasted because almost everything gathered from the land eventually becomes part of everyday life. Life in Merak is built on more than survival. It is also shaped by traditions that continue to bring the community together, even in one of the most isolated parts of Ladakh. A small stone building stands beside a mountain stream. Known locally as a rantak, this traditional watermill has served the village for generations. Powered entirely by flowing water, it slowly grinds barley into flour, one of the most important foods for families living at this altitude. Long before electricity reached these mountains, people had already learned how to harness the resources around them with remarkable simplicity. That same connection with tradition continues throughout the village. At the heart of Merak stands its Lakang, the village monastery. Throughout the year, it remains a place of daily prayer and quiet reflection. But during local religious festivals, the peaceful courtyard comes alive. Families gather from across the village. Monks perform sacred rituals. Traditional music echoes through the valley, while colorful ceremonial dances celebrate traditions that have been passed down through generations. Among them is the traditional yak dance, performed during village festivals to preserve stories and customs deeply rooted in life at this high altitude. These gatherings are about far more than celebration. In a village of only a few dozen families, they strengthen relationships, preserve cultural identity, and remind each generation of the traditions they have inherited. Just a short walk away, another building reflects the future of Merak, the village school. Each morning, children gather here before beginning their lessons, growing up with both modern education and the customs that continue to shape everyday life in their community. Merak may seem isolated on a map, but within the village, life remains deeply connected through shared work, shared beliefs, shared celebrations, and the quiet understanding that surviving these mountains has always depended on standing together. For much of the year, Pangong Lake is known for its deep blue waters. But as winter tightens its grip over eastern Ladakh, the landscape begins to transform. The temperature drops well below freezing. Shallow water near the shoreline slowly turns to ice, while open spaces around the village become natural playgrounds. For the children of Merak, winter does not simply bring colder days. It brings a season they eagerly wait for. With very few recreational facilities in such a remote village, the frozen ice becomes a place to learn, play, and spend time together. Some children take their very first steps on skates, carefully balancing with the support of chairs or the helping hands of their coaches. Others glide confidently across the ice, practicing the skills they have developed over the years. Nearby, older players prepare for a game of ice hockey. What began as a way to embrace the long Himalayan winter has gradually become an important part of life for many young people in Merak. My name is Angchuk, and I am from Merak Village in eastern Ladakh. The ice usually starts forming around November, and by the first week of December, it becomes strong enough for skating and ice hockey. I started playing in 2015. These young children are the future players of our village. Watching the children skate across the frozen surface, it is easy to forget how demanding winter can be in this part of the Himalayas. The same cold that freezes water, closes roads, and keeps families indoors for months also creates moments that bring the entire community together. Before leaving, Namgyal uncle bends down, picks up a small piece of ice, and places it beneath his feet. With a gentle push, he begins gliding across the frozen surface, laughing like a child. For a few brief moments, the hardships of mountain life seem to disappear. Perhaps that is what makes Merak unforgettable. Here, happiness is rarely found in grand celebrations or modern comforts. It is found in simple moments, shared with family, neighbors, and a community that has learned to embrace every season. As we leave the shores of Pangong Lake behind, our journey continues deeper into Ladakh. Far beyond these mountains lies another isolated valley, where the silence of the high Himalayas has opened a window to the universe.